A former Tennessee football player turned Knoxville police officer has been fired. Authorities say Geraldo Orta lied on the job. The 25-year-old played defensive back for the Volunteers from 2011 to 2014. He was sworn in as a KPD officer in August of 2017. Records show Orta pretended to respond in June to a burglar alarm at a West Knoxville bike shop. But as WBIR 10 News reporter Stephanie Haynes shows us, dash cam video shows that officer lied.
Geraldo Orta's last season at UT was 2014. Records show in August 2016, the former Vol was selected as a recruit. Almost 2 years to the day, that's changed. KPD Chief Eve Thomas fired Orta on August 13th. On June 3rd, records show KPD officer Geraldo Orta was dispatched shortly after 4 a.m. to an alarm call at the bike zoo near Kingston Pike and Bearden. Dash cam shows Orta drove east on I-40 to the paper mill exit, but turned around and got back on I-40 west without stopping at the bike zoo. And according to records, Orta lied about it. He told the dispatcher that the business was secure. Also according to records, minutes later, another alarm call came into the bike zoo. Dispatch alerted Orta. Another officer told the dispatcher he would respond, and when that officer arrived, he found a burglary in progress and a suspect running away with bikes. According to records, Orta also told that officer that the business was secure. When Orta arrived, records show you can hear him say, quote, "I can't believe I missed that busted window." A few days later, records state Orta admitted he lied. According to Orta's personnel file, he was also dismissed for using his taser on a nonviolent detainee and failing to call EMS or document it. Stephanie Haynes, WBIR 10 News.
10 News reached out to that now former officer this afternoon. We haven't heard back. Knoxville police opted against talking about why he was fired.